Rita Hayworth. Rita Hayworth was the epitome of Hollywood glamour, a name synonymous with beauty and allure. She was the love goddess, a title that cemented her as one of the most iconic stars of the 20th century. Yet, behind the dazzling smile and the perfectly coiffed hair was a woman battling a disease that would later redefine how the world viewed aging and mental health. In her 40s, Hayworth began exhibiting erratic behavior, forgetting lines and lashing out at those closest to her. For years, the industry whispered that she was succumbing to alcoholism, a convenient explanation for a star whose personal life had always been under scrutiny. The truth, however, was far more devastating. Hayworth was suffering from early-onset Alzheimer's disease, a condition that was virtually unheard of at the time. Her symptoms were misinterpreted as personal failings, and she endured years of misunderstanding and isolation. Even more tragic, her condition went undiagnosed until the early 1980s, long after her career had faded. By then, the damage to her reputation and relationships was irreversible. Hayworth's story is not just one of personal tragedy, but also a reflection of Hollywood's inability to support its stars beyond their prime. Her decline was a quiet plea for understanding in an industry that prized youth and perfection above all else. The revelation of her illness years later forced the world to confront the stigma surrounding mental health and aging, but for Hayworth, the recognition came too late. Her story leads us to another star whose struggles were equally misunderstood, though her fame began much earlier as a child. Judy Garland. Judy Garland was a child prodigy, a voice that could move mountains and a face that lit up the silver screen. She was Dorothy in The Wizard of Oz, a role that immortalized her in the hearts of millions. Yet behind the Technicolor dream was a life marked by relentless exploitation and a battle with a disorder that would haunt her until her final days. Garland's struggles with substance dependency are well documented, but few realize that her erratic behavior and emotional instability were symptoms of an undiagnosed bipolar disorder. The studio system, which controlled every aspect of her life, exacerbated her condition. From a young age, she was given amphetamines to keep her energy up during grueling filming schedules and barbiturates to help her sleep. This cycle of chemical dependency masked the deeper issue, a mind that oscillated between euphoric highs and crushing lows. Her manic episodes were often mistaken for diva-like behavior, while her depressive states were dismissed as exhaustion. The pressure to maintain her image as America's sweetheart only deepened her struggles. By the time she reached adulthood, Garland was trapped in a cycle of untreated illness, her mental health deteriorating in full view of the public. Her untimely passing in the late 1960s was the result of years of untreated illness and the pressures of an unforgiving industry. Garland's story is a chilling reminder of how the entertainment industry can exploit its brightest stars, leaving them to grapple with their demons alone. Her tale of highs and lows transitions seamlessly into the life of another star, one whose beauty and talent masked a similarly turbulent mind. Vivien Leigh. Vivien Leigh was a force of nature, a woman whose beauty and talent captivated audiences around the world. She was Scarlett O'Hara in Gone with the Wind, a role that earned her an Academy Award and cemented her place in cinematic history. Yet, Leigh's life was far from the glamorous image she projected on screen. She suffered from bipolar disorder, a condition that was poorly understood and even more poorly treated during her lifetime. Leigh's illness manifested in extreme mood swings, from euphoric highs that fueled her creativity to debilitating lows that left her unable to function. Her manic episodes were often mistaken for passion and intensity, while her depressive states were dismissed as exhaustion. During a particularly challenging period in the late 1940s, Leigh experienced a severe mental health crisis that almost derailed her career. Her condition strained her personal and professional relationships, including her marriage to Laurence Olivier, one of the greatest actors of his generation. Her behavior on set became increasingly erratic, leading to conflicts with directors and co-stars. Despite her struggles, she continued to deliver performances of unparalleled brilliance, a testament to her resilience and talent. Lee's story is a poignant reminder of the hidden battles faced by even the most celebrated stars. Her life, marked by triumph and tragedy, sets the stage for another tale of a Hollywood icon whose struggles were equally profound, though far less visible to the public eye. Jean Tierney. Jean Tierney was the embodiment of elegance and sophistication, a leading lady whose beauty and talent defined the golden age of Hollywood. She starred in classics like Laura and Leave Her to Heaven, captivating audiences with her magnetic presence. Yet, beneath the surface of her seemingly perfect life was a woman grappling with a devastating mental illness that would alter the course of her career and personal life. Tierney was diagnosed with schizophrenia in the early 1950s, a condition that was poorly understood and heavily stigmatized at the time. Her struggles began after a personal tragedy during World War II, when she contracted rubella while pregnant after attending a public event. The illness resulted in the birth of her daughter, Daria, who faced significant developmental challenges. This event haunted Tierney, and the guilt she carried became a catalyst for her mental health decline. By the mid-1950s, Tierney's condition had worsened to the point where she voluntarily admitted herself to a mental health institution. There, she underwent electroconvulsive therapy, a controversial treatment that left her emotionally and physically exhausted. The public was largely unaware of her struggles, as the studio system worked tirelessly to maintain her image as a glamorous star. Tierney's battle with schizophrenia forced her to step away from acting for several years, though she eventually made a quiet return to the screen. Her story is a haunting reminder of how even the brightest stars can be consumed by inner turmoil. The next story, however, takes us to a star whose struggles began long before Hollywood ever knew her name. Clara Bow. Clara Bow was the original It Girl, a silent film star whose charisma and charm defined the roaring 20s. She was the face of a generation, a symbol of modernity and rebellion in an era of rapid social change. Yet, behind the carefree image was a woman haunted by a traumatic past and a mind that would eventually betray her. Bow's childhood was marked by unimaginable hardship. She grew up in extreme poverty, with a mother struggling with mental illness and a father whose behavior created a difficult home environment. These early experiences left deep scars, and as Bow rose to fame, the pressures of stardom only exacerbated her fragile mental state. By the time she reached her 30s, Bow began exhibiting symptoms of what would later be identified as schizophrenia. She experienced paranoia, hallucinations, and severe anxiety, which made it increasingly difficult for her to function in the demanding world of Hollywood. The industry, which had once celebrated her, quickly turned its back on her as her behavior became more erratic. Bow retired from acting in her early 30s, retreating to a life of seclusion. Her story is one of triumph and tragedy, a reminder of how the very qualities that made her a star, her vulnerability and authenticity, were also her undoing. The next figure, however, faced a different kind of battle, one that would make her a symbol of Hollywood's darkest secrets. Frances Farmer. Frances Farmer was a star unlike any other, a woman whose talent and beauty were matched only by her fierce independence. She was a rising star in the 1930s and 40s, known for her roles in films like Come and Get It and Rhythm on the Range. Yet, Farmer's refusal to conform to Hollywood's expectations made her a target in an industry that demanded obedience. Her struggles with mental health began to surface in her 20s, and by the early 1940s, she was diagnosed with paranoid schizophrenia. Farmer's condition led to erratic behavior, which the press eagerly sensationalized, painting her as unstable and difficult. What followed was a series of events that remained shrouded in controversy. Farmer was institutionalized multiple times, where she reportedly underwent controversial treatments, including electroconvulsive therapy and extended periods of isolation. Some accounts suggest she may have undergone experimental treatments though these claims remain unverified. The public, unaware of the severity of her condition, viewed her as a cautionary tale of Hollywood excess. Farmer's career never recovered, and she spent much of her later life in obscurity, working menial jobs far removed from the glamour of her early years. Her story is a chilling reminder of how the entertainment industry can exploit and discard its brightest stars. The next tale, however, reveals yet another layer of Hollywood's hidden struggles. Marilyn Monroe. Marilyn Monroe was the ultimate Hollywood icon, a name that became synonymous with beauty, fame, and tragedy. She was the star of films like Some Like It Hot and Gentlemen Prefer Blondes, a woman whose image was carefully crafted to embody perfection. Yet, behind the glamorous facade was a deeply troubled individual battling a complex mental health condition. Monroe exhibited symptoms consistent with emotional instability, a condition that was poorly understood during her lifetime. Her life was marked by impulsivity, unstable relationships, and a deep yearning for acceptance, all of which were exacerbated by a childhood filled with instability and neglect. She grew up in orphanages and foster homes, her mother institutionalized for schizophrenia, leaving Monroe to navigate a world of uncertainty. As her fame grew, so did the pressures of maintaining her public image. Monroe's struggles with prescription medications were not just a product of Hollywood's grueling demands, but also a way to cope with her emotional pain. She often relied on prescription medications, a combination that blurred the line between treatment and dependency. Her erratic behavior on set, including frequent absences and difficulty remembering lines, was often dismissed as unprofessionalism, but it was a reflection of her deteriorating mental state. Monroe's untimely death in the early 1960s shocked the world, sparking endless speculation about the circumstances surrounding it. Her story remains a haunting reminder of how the entertainment industry can amplify personal struggles, leaving its brightest stars vulnerable and exposed. The next figure, however, faced a different kind of pressure, one rooted in cultural identity and the expectations of an unforgiving industry. Lupe Velez. Lupe Velez was a trailblazer, a Mexican actress who broke barriers in Hollywood during the early 20th century. Known as the Mexican Spitfire, Velez captivated audiences with her fiery personality and comedic talent in films like The Girl from Mexico and Mexican Spitfire. Yet, her life was far more complex than the roles she played on screen. Velez struggled with what would now be recognized as emotional and mental health challenges, which often manifested in extreme mood swings and impulsive behavior. Her fiery temperament, which made her a star, also made her a target for gossip and ridicule, in an industry that was quick to stereotype and dismiss her. Velez's personal life was as tumultuous as her career. She had a series of high-profile relationships, many of which ended in scandal, further fueling the media's fascination with her. Behind the scenes, Velez battled feelings of isolation and rejection, both as a woman of color in a predominantly white industry and as an individual struggling with her mental health. Her death in the late 1930s shocked Hollywood and became the focus of widespread speculation, overshadowing her groundbreaking contributions to the film industry. Velez's story is a poignant reminder of the double standards faced by women, particularly women of color, in Hollywood. The next figure, however, was a man whose decline was as public as his rise to fame, leaving behind a legacy both celebrated and tragic. John Barrymore. John Barrymore was a member of one of Hollywood's most famous acting dynasties, a man whose talent and charisma earned him the title of the Great Profile. He was a star of stage and screen, known for his performances in films like Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde, as well as his role in Grand Hotel. Yet, Barrymore's life was a cautionary tale of excess and decline. His struggles with alcohol were well documented, but few realized that his condition went beyond addiction. Barrymore likely suffered from a neurological disorder linked to long-term alcohol use, which caused significant memory loss and cognitive challenges. By the later years of his life, Barrymore's once brilliant mind had deteriorated to the point where he could no longer remember his lines, forcing him to rely on cue cards and prompting during performances. His decline was a public spectacle, with the media chronicling his every misstep and mocking his fall from grace. Despite his struggles, Barrymore continued to work, driven by a need to support his family and maintain his legacy. His death in the early 1940s marked the end of an era, but his story remains a sobering reminder of the toll that fame and addiction can take on even the most gifted individuals. The next tale, however, reveals yet another layer of Hollywood's hidden struggles, one that is both deeply personal and universally resonant. Montgomery Clift. Montgomery Clift was a star who redefined acting in Hollywood, bringing a raw emotional depth to films like A Place in the Sun and From Here to Eternity. His performances were magnetic, but behind the camera, Clift was a man battling a debilitating mental disorder that shaped his life and career. After a near-fatal car accident in 1956, Clift suffered not only severe physical injuries, but also what many now believe to be post-traumatic stress disorder, PTSD. The accident left his face partially disfigured, a devastating blow for an actor whose looks were central to his image. Yet the psychological scars ran deeper. Clift became increasingly withdrawn, plagued by anxiety and depression, and his behavior became erratic. What many don't realize is that Clift's struggles with mental health began long before the accident. He exhibited symptoms of what would now be recognized as bipolar disorder, marked by extreme mood swings that alternated between periods of intense creativity and crippling despair. These episodes were exacerbated by the pressures of Hollywood and his private battle with his sexuality in an era of rigid societal norms. Clift's reliance on alcohol and prescription medications to manage his symptoms only worsened his condition, leading to a slow and painful decline. By the early 1960s, his once brilliant career had been overshadowed by his deteriorating health, and he became known as a tragic figure in Hollywood. His death in 1966, at the age of 45, was officially attributed to a heart attack, but the years of mental and physical strain had taken their toll. Clift's story is a haunting reminder of how the industry's relentless demands can exacerbate even the most deeply rooted struggles. The next figure, however, faced a different kind of battle, one that was both physical and psychological. Lionel Barrymore. Lionel Barrymore was a Hollywood legend, a member of the illustrious Barrymore family, and a man whose career spanned decades. Known for his roles in It's a Wonderful Life and Grand Hotel, Barrymore was a commanding presence on screen. Yet, few realized that behind his success was a man grappling with a debilitating neurological disorder. In the early 1930s, Barrymore was diagnosed with severe arthritis, a condition that not only left him in constant pain, but also caused significant mental health challenges. Chronic pain is often linked to depression, and Barrymore's case was no exception. The physical limitations imposed by his condition forced him to adapt his career, often rewriting scripts to accommodate his wheelchair or finding ways to perform seated roles. What many don't know is that Barrymore's arthritis was so severe that it led to a condition known as ankylosis, where the joints become fused, leaving him unable to walk. This physical confinement took a toll on his mental health, as he struggled with feelings of helplessness and frustration. Despite this, Barrymore refused to let his condition define him. He continued to deliver powerful performances, often masking his pain with a stoic demeanor that audiences never suspected. Behind the scenes, however, he relied on medication to manage his symptoms, a reality he kept hidden from the public. Barrymore's resilience in the face of such adversity is a testament to his strength, but it also highlights the harsh realities of living with a chronic condition in an industry that demanded perfection. The next figure, however, was a star whose brilliance extended far beyond the screen into realms few would expect from a Hollywood actress. Hedy Lamarr. Hedy Lamarr was a woman of extraordinary beauty and intellect. a star of films like Samson and Delilah and Algiers. While she dazzled audiences with her on-screen presence, Lamar was quietly battling a neurological disorder that shaped her later years. Lamar exhibited symptoms of what would now be recognized as generalized anxiety disorder, GAD, a condition that left her in a near constant state of worry and restlessness. This disorder, coupled with the pressures of fame, led to periods of isolation and erratic behavior that puzzled those around her. What many don't know is that Lamar's anxiety was likely exacerbated by her groundbreaking work as an inventor. During World War II, she co-developed a frequency-hopping communication system designed to prevent enemy forces from jamming Allied torpedoes. While this invention would later form the basis for modern technologies like Bluetooth and Wi-Fi, it was largely ignored during her lifetime, leaving Lamar feeling unappreciated and undervalued. The combination of her scientific genius and her struggles with anxiety created a complex portrait of a woman far ahead of her time. By the 1950s, Lamar's career had faded, and she retreated into a life of privacy, her contributions to science forgotten until the late 20th century. Lamar's story is a testament to the fact that brilliance and struggle often go hand in hand, and her legacy as both an actress and an inventor continues to inspire. If you enjoyed this video, please leave a like and comment. Also, consider subscribing and hitting the notification bell to get notified of our newest videos. Thanks for watching.